Hi, this is Mama Shan with another tutorial. I'm using the image that we used in the toning and burning tutorial, and I have my layers file up here and just show you a couple of more ways that you can play with your image. We had created the background layer, and then we created a gradient map layer and put the levels adjustment layer beneath it to make it a little bit darker. We'll just shut these off and show you what I mean. So we did this first. We picked one of Mama's new tritone gradients, which are included in the download of this tutorial, and we added a levels adjustment layer to darken it overall, and then we added a linear burn layer. And right now the linear burn layer is on top. Let's see what happens if we change the stacking order of the layer. When you're working in Photoshop, you should experiment with all these variations, even changing the layer order. Once I put that underneath the gradient map, notice how that it blends more with the color. The object of this tutorial, though, is we're going to practice some split toning techniques. Now, all we have to do a split toning is create another gradient map. And so I'm going to click the new fill adjustment layer icon at the bottom of the layers palette and choose gradient map, and when this opens up it's going to place a gradient map layer above our previous one. We're going to click in the picker window and go to the gradient editor. If you have the new gradients with the purchase download of the previous tutorial, then we can scroll down here and get Morning Glory. That's what I'm going for here. These are tritone gradients. So I'm going to select Morning Glory and click OK. And then click Dither and click OK. Now because this is on top of the previous gradient map, we're seeing that effect. If we were to take this and drag it below, we see the other effect, and there is a bit of split toning going on. We can see a little bit of the blue and the other colors. Let me put this back up here. This is the Morning Glory one, and show you a way you can further split your tones in here. And that is by going into the advanced blending options and the blend if slider. So to do that, you just double click on the layer in a blank spot of the layer slot. Don't double click on the mask or the thumbnail, or you'll get into other areas. So just double click on this top layer, and this opens up the Layer Styles dialog box. And unfortunately I can't shrink this down too much, but I'm going to move it over here, and we'll come down here to the blend if. Now if I take this white triangle here and move it over, it's going to start cutting out those areas of luminosity and show through to the bottom layer, or the layer underneath it. Now to make the transition a little bit smoother, I'm going to hold down the Alt key on a PC or Option on a Macintosh and just move that back a little bit so it's a little bit smoother tone. I can also, let me just move this over, move the black slider in the blend if gray area, move that over a little bit and see how that's poking through some of that underlying original gradient map, the embers here. Now in this instance we can also use the underlying layer sliders. We don't really need to even go to that bottom layer to play with its sliders. So we can come in here and move the black one and Option Alt click to split, which produces a smoother transition. So if you leave it without splitting, it's very posterized looking. But you can in effect get some very cool results. I'm going to click OK because we don't need to stop there either. We can also play with the opacity of these gradient map layers. Start to bring that down to about 50%, and let's see, that brings some of the color in of the underlying layer, so we have a little bit of color here. If we move that up, it's like that. If we move it down, we're introducing some of the natural color of the image. And so it's just another means to have fun and play in Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to bring the layers palette back out here and scroll up here and take this off, lower its opacity so you can bring back in some of that natural color just with one of the gradient maps. Let's shut the visibility off for this. And now we just have the burn layer over the natural image and that levels adjustment layer. I'm going to turn back on gradient map 2 here, and let me go and double click. Let me bring these sliders back a bit. Underline layer 1. Just kind of play with these. Again, option clicking to spread that apart. Look at that. Just some interesting, unique type of effects. We'll put this back to normal now, like this. Click OK. And this is what it looks like at 100% opacity. We just start to lower it a bit, and it gives it another unique appearance. Again, you can play with blending modes. I'm a big encourager of just going through here and trying all types of things with your image. I'm pressing the down arrow key just to cycle the various blending modes, see what they look like with that particular gradient map on. Like I said, it is a virtual candy store inside of Photoshop here. Then go back to normal at the top. So that'll give you some more stuff to work with for split toning. So let's look at our before and afters here. I'm going to Option-Alt click on the visibility of the background layer, the very bottom layer, and that will turn off all layers but the background so we can see our original image here. And we can get some very unique effects with split toning and using various custom gradients that we create.